Hello, everyone. We are very sorry to be a little bit late, like always with the live session. That could be some technical challenges, but really grateful to have you here all with us. Let me start that from briefly introduce myself. My name is Łukasz Łukowski. I am a Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at STORDIS. As a STORDIS company, we are also one of the OCP solution provider. And as I was mentioning today, with me is my friend Niraj Jain from Pica8, who is a Chief Operation Officer. Maybe, Niraj, you would like to say a few words about yourself and before we will go to the agenda, please.
Sure, Łukasz, thank you very much. So as Łukasz mentioned, I've been running all the business operations for Pica8 and have been here for almost 8 years. I've spent 25 plus years in the networking industry, working for a variety of different companies. And right now we are very excited to be able to launch this new program in the area of open networking. Thank you, Łukasz. Back to you.
Excellent. So going over our short agenda, we will start from the introduction of our program, Back to Open. This is the name. Then the voice basically will be with Pica8 and Niraj, starting from the Pica8 introduction over the different advantages versus the Cumulus Linux, and some also news and migration options. Finally, we will go over the live Q&A. What it is about, why we created Back to Open program. Some of you could hear that what happened finally with the Cumulus network. So after the acquisition of the Mellanox and, frankly speaking, NVIDIA, unfortunately, there are some challenges related with the access to the Broadcom SDK. So that is bringing a couple of different points, which I will refer soon. But together with a few friends from the open networking industry, we decided that because this is open networking, we will help our partners and customers to simply stay open, to go back to the open. And simply, this is how we created that program. Pica8 is the first partner who is joining us. So this is why we have even a bigger pressure to have that webinar live session today. So some of you could even see that in the latest release of the Cumulus Linux. So coming with the version 4.4, as you can see, they are bringing some good news, which is definitely in plus. But in the end, you can read that the Cumulus Linux 4.4 supports only NVIDIA Spectrum-based ASIC platform. So the all Broadcom-based networking ASIC, and we have on mine bare metal hardware coming from such as vendors like Edgecore networks, like the Ajima, like Adele, and few others, unfortunately, will be not any longer supported. What exactly that means to you? So the latest Cumulus Linux, which will be available for those platforms, it will be version called 4.3. Unfortunately, having said that, you cannot expect to get new features which will be supported under the Broadcom Silicon. The additional, unfortunately, we cannot count on any new porting with a platform based on the Broadcom ASIC. So, for example, if someone was looking for the latest 10G Trident 3X5, unfortunately, it will not happen. The bugs fixed, it's a little bit depends, but there could be some cases where that will be also really hard to debug without the proper access and the relationship with the Broadcom. And yes, supported new platform, this is what I was already mentioning. But if your decision, dear partners, was wrong, definitely not. So this is the beauty of the open networking. As I was saying in my past, and I was working for Edgecore networks for a couple of years, we've been saying surprising that the software goes, come and goes, but the hardware stay forever. And in that case, this is partly true. So since you choose open networking, since you choose bare metal hardware, still you can migrate from the Cumulus to some other options, which in some cases today could be even your better options. So how the program basically is working? First of all, based on that special conditions, every partner who will decide to go with our program and Pica8 will receive free of charge NOS licenses for every boxes which is running Cumulus Linux today in the network. The only, let's say, cost which will be needed to be happen, the only investment will be related with minimum 1 year of the standard support. So again, you will get various hardware platforms options, and this is the beauty. So either you can go with Edgecore hardware coming from Edgecore, or Dell, or Jima. Really depends. You will not have any longer a vendor login on the hardware part. And free consulting, this is basically our job, our part. So as a STORDIS, we will help you, we will guide you how to go with that migration, providing our consultation on the topology and the migration. Later on, we will also share a bit more details here. Unfortunately, we needed to a little bit simplify the animation which we have here. So we have a really nice visual way how the rocket was flying with a Pica8 and let's say hitting that turtle which was falling down. Anyway, you need to trust me that was the case. But when we will share the slides after the session with you, you can take a look. So basically, the whole case is pretty simple. We have 3 steps. First, you need to get in touch with us, with me, with myself, with Niraj, with our teams. And of course, we will discuss your current environment. We will check the hardware which you are using in your network. But again, you are not limited to let's say, a single vendor. We are supporting the migration for such as hardware platforms like the Cumulus Express, like the Edgecore networks, like a Dell, like a Jima. Second step, you need to choose your migration plan. Again, this is where we will be delighted to help. So based on your features, based on your topology, we will find the best way to get you back to the open. And basically that's it. You can enjoy again that you are back, you are fully open, and simply you have a choice. Niraj, with a little bit painful, but and small delayed, please, your part.
Thank you. You look better without the headphones anyway. So.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so many of you are familiar with Pica8, and if not, here's a brief introduction. Pica8 has been in the business of providing open networking software since 2012, when we first offered a Linux-based network operating system. Today, what we offer is a software switch, which we call PicOS, and AmpCon controller software for automation and management. We have, in this past 8-9 years, developed a pretty strong customer base, almost more than 1,000 customers across just about every continent in the world. We offer a complete, highly well-tested solution stack and corresponding features for the large enterprise. And the most exciting news for us, we are all small companies, is that we recently closed our Series C funding round just in April. So we are ready and geared up to go. Next slide, please. So just a brief look at some of the customers that we have served over the years. We will share some case studies, but as you can see, there are some very large names here, like Yahoo, Verizon, Airbus, Boeing, Fiserv, Infosys, etc. Many of these are global players. Quite a few companies, in every part of the world, as you can see. Next slide, please. So, I want to touch a little bit on how Pica8 is similar and different to what you may have been using with Cumulus. So, first of all, we have been focused on the campus and data center applications. You may have been using Cumulus in a data center application. Cumulus, unlike that, Pica8 has also had a very strong presence in the enterprise campus for access networks. We have been in production deployment for over 4 years at Verizon's IT locations. These are over 1,400 retail stores in the US out of a nationwide network. We have also had big enterprise wins with accounts such as Boeing. Everybody knows who Boeing is. Fiserv, which is the biggest data processor for credit cards. Infosys, global service provider and integrator. Samsung, and Yahoo Japan. So some of these applications are in the data center, some are in the enterprise campus, but we have supported a broad range of customers in very mission critical applications. The other advantage, which Łukasz already talked about, is we are supporting all the current and future white box switches, so we are not limited to one particular brand or ASIC. We provide a very straightforward replacement. If you have an existing Cisco or Cumulus environment, we provide a simple layer 2, layer 3 CLI, which is something people are very familiar with, so you can make the transition quite easily. If you are using Cumulus, we will help you with converting their configs over to PicOS, more on that later. And we provide a very open switch platform based on unmodified Debian Linux, which is very flexible. One requirement that we have seen increasingly in the last 2 years in the enterprise campus is network admission control, or NAC. Security and authentication is becoming critical, and all our large customers are rolling out policy managers such as Cisco ICE or Aruba ClearPass, and Pica8 has very strong integration up and running with these platforms with some of the accounts that I mentioned. Somebody asked about free radius. We of course support that as well, and we have AmpCon. We have AmpCon controller, as I mentioned, which is our automation suite, and it provides a very intuitive GUI-based application to automate the initial deployment, as well as the ongoing lifecycle functions to reduce the Opex throughout the life of your ownership. So we will talk more about this on a subsequent slide. Next slide, please.
Niraj, maybe just ad hoc. I see the question coming from Patrick about something similar to the Cumulus VX. Is that something that the Pica8 is providing today, like a virtual, environment to do some test?
No, so Pica8 does not provide a virtualized version. It is something we are working on. We expect to have one available. However, what we have set up is virtual labs that we can provide remote access to our customers. We also have a very easy to use trial program. Pica8 software can be downloaded and installed on a white box switch without a license. And all you have to do is send a request to Pica8 and we will make that available. So you can take our software and operate it in trial mode, in which a subset of the ports will be active with full functionality. So testing Pica8 is very easy. We provide a few options. Today, we don't have a virtual image.
And when you are expecting to have that ready, that virtual environment, I am asking because I know that it was pretty cool things, over the
it is something we are working on. We know that there are some benefits to having it. So not only for testing, but for simulation and other purposes as well. So it is something we expect to have sometime in Q4, but it is going to take time. There is no doubt. It's
maybe also
having, yeah.
Yeah, let me also add something from my end. So before that will happen, as you mentioned it, getting an access to the remote lab, that is also something that we can provide from our end. Yeah, so we have like 3 different lab localization here in Stuttgart, also coming soon in Poland, and another in the UK. Also, if someone would like to put their hands on the real equipment, we can set up for you like a leaf and spine topology, put everything into the mobile rack, and simply send it. That is also one of the options.
One of the questions that was asked is, do we still support older platforms such as Trident, which is the AS5712? And the answer is yes, we do. We have a very extensive compatibility list, and it's on our website. And we do support them and provide updates. Of course, we also look at the market, where our customers, what are they using, and we focus our efforts on as many new platforms as possible, but we continue to support the old ones.
Absolutely.
So, next slide. Yeah. Okay. So this just is a visualization showing what is unique about Pica8. We have talked about some of these things. Of course, we are open, which means you get a disaggregated experience. You can install PicOS on a variety of different switches, and the behavior will be exactly the same because we abstract that through our software. You get the full access to Linux and the Linux ecosystem. This is one of the nice things about open networking. There's a very rich ecosystem of applications and services that have been developed in the last 20 years, and you can use them with these switches. And then finally, Pica8 also is a full SDN software. Everybody uses the word SDN. We were one of the first players to offer a SDN experience, which means there is a second control plane based on OpenFlow. And our software can be operated in standard layer 2, layer 3 mode, can be operated in OpenFlow mode, or in something we call crossflow, which is primarily layer 2, layer 3 with selective use of OpenFlow functions for granular control of the ASIC. These are for specialized applications, but what you know is when you get PicOS, you can use it in a standard mode, but if you have a complicated application, we have the flexibility to help you implement it. Next slide. This is a quick look at how the OS breaks down. You see we run on top of the standard Linux. All the usual Linux tools are available. And then we have an adaptation layer that's built into our software called vASIC. And this abstracts across the different ASICs. So you see if you're working with really old switches or new switches or different ASICs, Trident, Trident 2, Trident 3, Tomahawk, Helix 4, it doesn't matter. Our software functionality is consistent. It's one CLI that you use across all of them. Now, of course, different ASICs support different capabilities. So some may have smaller table sizes, some may have larger table sizes, some may or may not support a particular feature like VXLAN. That is something we provide you guidance and advice on, but our software behavior remains exactly the same on top. So you see we have a very wide range of support. We are just showing on the slide the Edgecore switches that we support. Similarly, we have support for a very extensive range of switches from Dell. We also support the Agema or Delta switches. So you will see that on our hardware compatibility list on our website. For almost any application that you have, we have the switch that you will need.
How about, Niraj, 400G? Is that also something that you are porting? So basically, you are talking about the Strata SGS and the Tomahawk 3 as an example.
Yeah, 400G is something that's out there. We don't have a very active customer base around it. So we focus our efforts on what the market is really asking. And the majority of your customers don't have applications where they need 400G. It's a very small set. So it is not something we have prioritized. It is something we can get done. But today, our software is not supporting that model. It's based on the same ASICs. so it is not very difficult for us to activate it. But we always have to prioritize things based on market opportunities. So currently, no 400G. Yeah.
And also what I can see, and this is good, and the Cumulus Linux was also supporting some of those. It's just the power over Ethernet. So I believe that in many cases that could be also strategic. So good to see the PoE support, even the ultra PoE, because some of those models are supporting more than the 30 watts. I have on mind those ones coming from primarily Edgecore and the Dell, plus the multi-gig. So that is also something where I saw a lot of requirements, and unfortunately I didn't saw that Cumulus being able to finalize the porting with the Trident 3X3 that will be, unfortunately. So that is also showing, for me at least, that it's already providing the future-proof, let's say, hardware options.
Indeed. This is a bit of a deeper look at what's going on inside the OS. So just looking on the right side, as Łukasz mentioned, the majority of the switches that we are seeing in the enterprise are based on Broadcom ASICs. But there's also other players like Marvell out there who have a very significant product line and also open, and we can support those too, depending on the business opportunities. There are many different brands today. Most of the market, and I have called out three in particular, Edgecore, Dell, and Delta. However, there are other players out there, and we do support them. So, for example, there are switches from people like Quanta, Inventec, others. So again, it's on a business opportunity basis. It's the same ASICs, and it's relatively straightforward for us to turn on support for a model made by a different vendor. And then above this, you see a little breakdown of the different capabilities. The main point here is that this is a modular architecture, and we are using standard open source technologies. Nothing is hidden, everything is in front of you. We do provide the dual control planes, as I mentioned. We have APIs through which you can communicate into the software. We work with standard automation tools such as Ansible, Salt, Puppet, and Chef. Most of our customers seem to be focusing on Ansible these days. And we see APIs like today, well-known APIs like NetConf, which are supported with different Yang models, as well as future-looking APIs such as GNMI, which are coming and provide more updated modern functionality. So we are constantly looking at what is happening on the leading edge, and then within reasonable time, we bring those capabilities into the OS. So you are getting something that is live and growing and up to date on every aspect, including security. As new security patches are released, we provide them and can be applied here as well. We do not support Broadcom DNX, which is the product line based around the Qumran and Jericho line of ASICs, because again, our mainstream enterprise customers have not had too many use cases for that. That is something we can again look at in the future. Next slide, please. So I was going to share a couple of case studies. I mentioned we have a big deployment in the enterprise access network with Verizon. They have 4,200 stores across the US, and in the back of every store there are one or two switches. These were historically a Cisco 3850 PoE switch, and for the reasons we mentioned, which is savings on CapEx and OpEx, which are very significant, and more open environment, which can interact with their own initiatives and provide support for automation, as well as full implementation in a multi-vendor environment. They're moving to the latest Aruba Wi-Fi, and they wanted to have seamless integration with that as well. So this is something that was deployed starting in early 2017, and today over 1,400 switches have been deployed. Typically about 1 1/4 or 1/5 of their network gets upgraded every year. And today, Pica8 software running on Edgecore AS4610 switches is the brand standard for all new deployments. Next slide. This is a much more complex case study for a full campus network. So again, what I wanted to show is not only are we deploying at the very simple branch office kind of environment, but also a full campus where you have everything from the access switch to aggregation to the core to the data center all deployed consistently. And this is an example with Dell switches where Pica8 is running on Dell's open networking line. And this is a full 7-story building that was given to us to deploy with a complete open networking turnkey solution. And of course, it has to integrate with the customer's existing Cisco's network, which was based on SD access infrastructure as well. And they have an extensive authentication system to implement their version of Zero Trust. And this is based on Cisco ICE as the policy manager. And AmpCon controller was used right from the beginning for providing every aspect of the deployment, from the initial software installation to the ongoing config management, licensing, and we have also gone through several upgrade cycles as well as config updates. So I will have a more detailed slide on AmpCon, but I just wanted to mention that it is an integral part of this deployment. What you see here is also something interesting which is happening in a lot of campus networks today, which is the use of VXLAN. So you see in the little shaded blue area that there is the whole network has got a routed underlay with VXLAN overlay running there, which provides you the capability of taking layer 2 domains and creating adjacency between them across the enterprise. This is an architecture that we are seeing increasingly being deployed in the campus networks, and we have full support for that here. So we show you a fairly complex implementation with a high degree of scalability. And this customer has been using Cisco chassis previously, and in this deployment, in one of the closets, we are able to provide enough ports to replace 3 Cisco chassis with this completely open, flexible, scalable leaf spine architecture. And that is not limited. If you need to add an extra switch, you don't have to get a whole new chassis. You just add an extra switch. So I see a question about VXLAN tunnels directly to the campus switches. And it's a very good question because this is somewhat hardware dependent. In this environment, the customer is using the latest Trident 3 based switches, which do support VXLAN. And in that case, we are able to support VXLAN tunneling all the way from the access switch. Similarly, in the Edgecore product line, they have a new switch called the AS4630. And the AS4630 is also Trident 3 based and supports VXLAN. So PicOS will provide that VXLAN access all the way from the access switch to any other point in the network.
Plus the PoE, and as I remember also like a ultra PoE with really decent budget. So if such as not only access points or the IP cameras, but like a info kiosk and that kind of some kind of like a media broadcasting or display integrated computers, you can also power it directly from that kind of the latest bare metal hardware, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And this is the nice thing, that the software grows with you as new capabilities emerge in the market. We are able to support them. And this is the most recent thing in the last year and a half. We have seen the full line of Trident 3 based switches coming in and essentially providing not only higher feeds and speeds, but also new functionality such as VXLAN support. Go ahead, next slide, please. I mentioned AmpCon. So what is AmpCon? It's our automation platform that's built on top of Ansible. it is what you see here on the right side is the dashboard. When you come into it through a web browser, you see at a glance what's happening in your network. And then along the left side, you have menus that you can select to perform different functions. Basically, it comes as a software appliance, which is a server that can be run as a virtual machine in your private cloud in your data center, or we can put it in the public cloud for you. It's really up to the customer. You just import the OVA and set it up. It provides you a one-step push-button deployment tool. It has a built-in database that comes with it, so you don't have to really install anything else. And we provide both modes of operation. You can have a single system running, or you can have a high availability cluster of multiple instances of AmpCon, which are running in different parts. And then these are automatically synchronized. The database is automatically synchronized, so they're running in an active mode. And some of our customers are putting a load balancer in front so that they can take the incoming traffic and automatically redirect it across both of the systems. And we provide a high degree of security, from role-based access control to log into the system, which is coordinated with your Radius server, as well as masking of any keys and passwords when you look at them on the screen, and then end-to-end encryption between the switches and the AmpCon controller for any management traffic that is being exchanged between them. Go on to the next slide, please.
Yeah, but maybe let me also ask something. So for me, this is a big deal. I believe that this is also always something which was missing in our open networking world. Yeah, we could have some softwares which been running on top of the hardware, and of course we can go to the Ansible and try to do everything by ourselves. But I believe that that is something that many people will be looking for. So when you've been starting that development, because it's pretty new, if we're talking about the AmpCon introduction, but as I have a feeling, you've been already spending some decent time to make it really robust and ready for the production.
Yes, okay. So this is a very good point. As you mentioned, Ansible is a very broadly used environment, but there are different levels of capabilities in different organizations and how much experience they have in writing Ansible scripts and setting up a platform. So what we have done is we have abstracted that a little bit. Here we are using Ansible engine underneath the covers, and then on top of it, we have created some scripts written in Python as well as a web GUI. Everything is very open. People can see what we are doing, but we are providing some out-of-the-box functionality, and we've been working on this for 2+ years. So this product has been now in production for more than a year, deployed with some of the customers that I just showed you on the previous 2 case studies. Both of them are using AmpCon in production for the last year, and we have several others coming online with it as well. And we continue to add new functionality. This is an active development project. But one more thing, if there is a shop which is actually very familiar with Ansible, we also provide the ability in this to run Ansible playbooks directly from AmpCon. So if somebody wants to create a very custom workflow, but use the existing workflows that we have already created, but also create their own custom workflow, it literally takes a few clicks to go online and write a small Ansible playbook, or take one of the existing 15-20 playbooks we have and modify them and just operate them against the same database. Very good point. So if we go to the next slide, I will share a few more details about AmpCon. So this is showing on the right side a complete deployment workflow. With one of our customers, we provide them a degree of automation in which they receive the switches, in this case, Edgecore switches, and the Edgecore switches come with a default image on them. They just send them to the location. They are plugged into the network and to the power. The switches come on. They automatically detect and look for our AmpCon server, where they connect with the AmpCon server through a very interesting set of algorithms. And then once they find the server will check the switch, check its information, and say, okay, your software is not up to date. I will automatically upgrade your software to the current version. and then take the config that has been built for this serial number of switch and push that config down, and the switch will now come and start running automatically in the network. Again, the use case varies a little bit depending on the kind of switch you have, how your network is set up. We are also supporting a different deployment model in which we do the installation through a DHCP server using DHCP option 60, which is what we show in the lower part of the diagram, in that when your switch comes up, you start in the ONI mode. And in this case, it will automatically look for a DHCP offer. And the DHCP offer will include within it the automation server. And so it will reach the AmpCon server and start the same process that I mentioned before, but it's initiated in a slightly different way. So there is a flexibility depending on which model of switch you're buying. Is it coming pre-installed with the OS or not, etc. And we give different deployments options to you. So we provide templates for building these configs, and these can be modified and reused to start deploying individual switches. And then once you have established your deployment model, Pica8 also provides you an ability to do a bulk deployment in which you can upload the data for a whole group of switches, and the AmpCon software will build out the configs from that summary information and then hold it ready. And when a switch connects, it can be automatically deployed. So we provide a GUI-based environment for deploying individual switches, and we also provide support for deploying switches at the bulk level. So moving on. So these are some of the other things I mentioned. Lifecycle management. After you have deployed initially, how does AmpCon help you? So many different aspects. You can schedule your software upgrades. And in this case, you set it up, either calendar the job, say you want to run it between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. or whatever is the low traffic time in your network. And you can set it up with a defined group of switches, and it will automatically go and perform the upgrades and give you a report. Config backups are important just to make sure that if you have a problem in the network, whether there is an attack or a switch goes down, that the latest configs are available. We have scheduled backups that you can set up with the ability to do a compare against your standard config for compliance management, and you can execute a rollback to the standard config if you see any variance. We can also send out small config updates. For example, you want to push a new VLAN to all the switches. So you can just create a config snippet and through our system, push it out to the group of switches that you like. Licenses are installed initially, as well as updated automatically. We have RMA replacement workflows in which if a switch has failed and you want to replace it, you can easily get the old config appropriately modified, deployed on the new config. We have simple monitoring capability for getting switch level visibility. This is not replacing your SNMP manager, but giving you a health check and port statistics, etc. And then I've already mentioned the custom workflows that you can create. So very extensive capabilities, and happy to talk in more depth about this. Next slide, please.
One question, please. Speaking about the RMA replacement, as far as I remember, you are securing your software with a key license, which basically it's also showing with the one bullet above. So how then that is working? Because as far as I remember, we are generating some kind of like a unique hardware ID. So
right. So AmpCon automates that whole workflow so that the customer doesn't have to do it. As part of the deployment process, AmpCon will log into the switch. It'll actually SSH to the switch. It will, after deploying the software, it will generate that hardware ID. It will go to the license portal, which is a Pica8 web-based portal, and connect to the customer's account. It will generate a license key based on that hardware ID, and it will go back and install the license on the switch. So the full deployment workflow is automated, including licensing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So we come to the main point of this seminar, which is like, how do we take all these capabilities and apply them to your case? So if you're running Cumulus Linux, first of all, we work with you to make sure that we can convert the configs that you have. We have templates, and we also provide, professional services assistance that you can get coordinated with STORDIS for taking your existing configs and then creating the equivalent Pica8 config. Once you have done that, then we provide automation of the process of replacing Cumulus Linux with PicOS. So we have automation scripts which will go in and uninstall Cumulus Linux. It will install PicOS, install the license as we just discussed, take this pre-designed config and push it on the switch and bring the switch up on the network. So it provides a fairly seamless process of taking an existing switch that's running with Cumulus and replacing it and bringing it up with PicOS. We already mentioned the offer that any switch that's already deployed with Cumulus software, we will provide a complimentary license so that you don't have to buy the software twice. And we ask you to buy at least 1 year of support. And then we talked about the compatibility with the most commonly used white box switches based on Broadcom ASICs. All the current models going back many, many years, as well as the new models coming out the pipeline. And there we have it.
Thank you, Asa. I believe the next one, this is our Q&A session. We had already some questions on which we've been trying to answer ad hoc, but when you've been presenting, we also received a couple of private questions, and I was able to listen it. So one of the questions was, how difficult is to convert the config from the Cumulus Linux to Pica8 PicOS?
So it is different. Cumulus config, unlike our standard config that you might be used to from Cisco, is not in a single place. They're actually in different files that are installed in the Linux. So we have provided templates which say, okay, we'll take your different config files, and it's very difficult to automate that initial conversion process because of the unique nature of the Cumulus config. So we provide you guidance and help in doing it. We have done it for other customers. We have customers who have already converted over from Cumulus to PicOS, and they're running in production. So we provide guidance, but it is a manual process for converting the config initially. Once we have converted one config, it's very easy to apply that to the rest of the configs. So you don't have to do it manually for 50 configs. You do it once and then use it as a template, and then we convert it, use it to convert all the others. So.
Of course, and we are here to also help with that. So, yeah, thank you. Another question from Mr. Mark. Is there any loss of the functionality in migration from Cumulus to Pica8? Niraj.
So again, this is a very good question. We are not aware of any feature differences that are being used, but there's always a possibility that some customer will have some unique use case that we don't know about. But today, especially in the campus environment, as well as in standard data center applications, we have the same functionality. In fact, the routing stack that was being used by Cumulus, FRR, Pica8 has released about 4 months ago our 4.0 software, which is based on the FRR stack as well. So there is a feature parity on the routing side, but we also have features on the layer 2 side that Cumulus did not have. Some of these are related to, like I said, network access control and many other things that are happening at an individual switch level in the campus. So I would say at this point, we offer a broader set of features than Cumulus did, but we are always happy to look at a case-by-case basis.
Okay, and I see that even there are coming some as we speak. So use Pica Dockers or the other containers like Sonic or Junos, or is Pica8 running native like a Cumulus?
So it's closer to the Cumulus model we are running as an application on top of the Linux. We don't go and embed our software inside the Linux like Cumulus does, but it's not running in Dockers or containers today. It is running as a native application on the Linux. I also see a question about MLAG support, and yes, MLAG is a basic critical component of our spine leaf deployment model, and all the examples I showed you are based on an MLAG design.
Yeah, the Cumulus had a SIMLAG, so basically it's very similar. I have also another one from the private, from Mr. Dimitri. Is there any limit to the number of the switches that can be converted?
No,
I can take that on. At least
no, this is a business question. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Of course not. Yeah, unless you are running a Cumulus Linux of those old switches, until we can find them under our really wide hardware compatibility list, and as Niraj was saying, if there is no any, but we don't think so. Definitely, we will also deal with your topology and the requirements. Basically, we can convert or migrate any number of the switches. So that was the easy one. But I see that there is also another one from a lady, I hope, Angela. And do we have to convert all switches at the same time, or can we do them in batches?
So we do want to know under this program how many switches you would plan to convert, but we don't require you to convert them at the same time. But we do like to go through a discovery process to make sure we understand what is the plan, what is the scope of the project that you wish to convert, and therefore we can include them in this offer, but you don't have to convert them all at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And first we will go with some kind of like a, proof of concept in our lab before we will touch your production. That is definitely. And the question just coming from Paul. Will you provide the script to remove Cumulus, install Pica, and then separately upload the current Cumulus config? So I believe that the first is, the answer is yes, but with the auto config, that could be a challenge, yeah?
Yeah. So that's what I mentioned, and I'm not sure if I explained it very well. So yes, so first of all, the automation script we provide, it will go and remove Cumulus. It will install PicOS, but I want to be careful we explain this correctly. It will not take the existing Cumulus config and reapply it, because the Cumulus config is devised in a very unique way. Like I said, it is split across multiple files that are embedded inside Linux. So no, so the config part will have to be pre-built, and this is where we work with the customer to take their Cumulus configs and convert them to PicOS configs. Those PicOS configs are pre-built, and then all that is changing when you go from switch to switch is the IP address, the host name, and some basic parameters like this that vary from when you go from one switch to the next. The basic config will not change. If you have 50 access switches, the basic config, your VXLANs and your port setups are not going to change. What will change is the management IP address and the host name, and those are the things that we rotate. And yes, we will automate that process for you.
There are extra two. One like I believe Paul, was that answering your question, please?
I see a thumbs up, so I guess it means yes.
I also think so. And how about the questions from Anthony? This is where definitely I need your help, Niraj. Upload the analogous. No, sorry. Do you have DNS-free official Pica8 appliance?
DNS-free Pica8 appliance? No.
DNS-free.
GNS3, no, we do not have. This is similar to the question about the VM that was asked earlier. This is something we are working on, and we realize that being able to do network simulations on GNS3 is a very powerful capability. So it is something we are absolutely planning to support. It is not available today. Like I said, we are expecting to have something in Q4. So.
And let's take the last one from Mr. Wojciech. Do you provide PicOS upgrades using package manager on only entire image updates and reload?
So we have both options. We do provide a standard ability to replace the whole image, but because the architecture is modular, in some cases, like if you're applying a security patch, there will also be an option of just replacing the appropriate files on the Linux side and not having to change out the complete PicOS application code. So yes, both options will be supported.
Excellent. Excellent. Niraj, I believe that we already took a little bit longer as we expected, maybe also partly because of some technical challenges on the beginning, but I would like to really thank you for your time and going with us with those all questions. There is maybe one or two still questions which let us maybe answer over an email. Someone was asking also about the slides. Yes, all slides will be shared, same as that video, maybe with a tiny post-production. So once again, appreciate for your time. I also would like to thank you to all of the people who are with us and are interested. Please feel free to contact us. So on the last slides, you can find the full contact details to Niraj and to myself. And as we are saying in our company, freedom is nothing else but a chance to be better. So let's do better and let's go back to open once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Łukasz. Thanks for this webinar. I appreciate the chance to talk about it.
Thank you. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.